Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of the book of Hosea, and we're in chapter 2. And we're going to finish up this first prophetic oracle, and we're going to read chapter 2, verses 14 through 23. So, chapter 2, verses 1 through 13, God communicates, and Hosea communicates just the heartbreak of the infidelity, of the betrayal, and just the lack of knowledge of just a disrespect, the the hurt of being treated so badly, um, and and God saying, "I'm going to put a stop to this behavior, and I'm going to do what I need to do to put a stop to it." And it's extreme and it's hard. But then in verse 14, he says, "And when I do, I'm going to then win her back. I'm going to court her back." Um, you know, when David sinned with Bathsheba and took her, I don't know that that was a violent act. I don't think it was, but it certainly was not a mutually consensual act. It's not described that way at all. And then had her husband murdered, and then the child that they produced died, and all that happened, and then David repented and was forgiven by God. There's just a few verses there in in 2 Samuel chapter 12 that describes a long process. It says that David spoke kindly to her and comforted her. Um, that David took the time to grieve with his wife and to try to build a relationship with her when he hadn't laid a foundation of a relationship with her. That David took the time to build something back. Well, God and Hosea, they are the injured parties, but they love their wife, and why he loves his people, and whenever he puts a stop to the idolatry, he's going to win her back. Something that he's described by looking forward to the Messianic age in the last chapter, verses 10 through 11. Let's read verses 14 through 23. Therefore, behold, I will court her. I will bring her into the wilderness. I will speak kindly to her. I will give her vineyards from there, and the valley of Achor as a door of hope. And she will sing there, as in the days of her youth, as in the days when she came up out of the land of Egypt. And it will come about in that day, declares the Lord, that you will call me Ishi, my man, my husband, but more something more primal than my husband, my man. You will call me my man, and you will no longer call me Baali. The word Baal, because Baal is a fertility cult, the word Baal is just a word for husband as well. Um, they had multiple words for husband, and this was one of them. And so by saying my Baal is another way of saying my husband. Well, you're not going to say it anymore. You're not going to use that person's name, who's not even a person. You're not going to use it anymore. You're going to call me your man. So call me my man, and no longer call me my Baal. I will remove the names of the Baals from her mouth, so that they will be mentioned by their names no more. In that day I will also make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, the birds of the sky, the creeping things of the ground. I will abolish the bow, the sword, and war from the land, and will make them lie down in safety. And I will betroth you to me forever. Yes, I will betroth you to me in righteousness and in justice, in loving kindness and compassion. And I will betroth you to me in faithfulness. Then you will know Yahweh. There's knowledge again. Knowledge is the theme of the book. And it will come about in that day that I will respond, declares Yahweh. I'll respond to the heavens, and they will respond to the earth, and the earth will respond to the grain, and the new wine, and the oil, and they will respond to Jezreel, to God's sowing. And I will sow her for myself in the land, And I will also have compassion on her who had not obtained compassion. And I will say to those who were my people, not my people, you are my people. And they will say, you are my God. There's a complete reversal, and it has to happen in the Messianic age. This doesn't describe any other point in history. It has to describe what we can have in the Messiah, and perhaps even some things that we haven't enjoyed yet because of the Messiah. But he's saying, listen, there's going to be hope. There's going to be hope for everybody, and I'm going to love you back. I'm going to love you back, which is what he does in Jesus. I'm going to love you back, and you're going to. I'm going to restore this relationship. We're going to have a covenant again. It's going to cost, and it is going to cost. When God says, "I will betroth you to me forever," He's saying you can't become betrothed without paying the bride price. It's that word means so much. He said, "I'm treating you as if you were a new bride." It's going to be, we're going to start all over, and you're not going to use these names anymore. I I um I read this, and I think about all the men who've expressed the same thing to me about what they wish they could do, when their wife had been unfaithful to them, and and almost quote word for word some things that God says in the book of Hosea without realizing it, because it's just natural, it's just universal that you would feel that way, you know. But God can make it happen. We can't. We can't on earth. You can't. But God can make it happen through Jesus. God can bring back that which has been lost, even her virginity, her status as clean, as a woman who is ready to be betrothed to her husband and to have one husband and only one husband. That can be restored, and God's going to do it. And see how God demonstrates all those things that you went to Baal for without mentioning Baal's name, because he's gotten rid of Baal's name. You know, the rain coming from the sky and the ground producing. I'm the source of all that. I've always been the source of all that, and I will be the source of all that again. And it's in the emphatic. It's something that God looks forward to, that God pines for, that day when he can have his people back. You are my people, and they will say, you are my God. It's moving. It's just really moving. It's moving from verse 1 to verse 23, because we go through this enormous range of emotions. And I know any marital counselor, anyone who's had that training, they're going to recognize everything that you read, that you and I read in verses 1 through 23. The thing is that for a human being that's looking forward to this idyllic future and pining for it is unrealistic, because we can't accomplish it, but God can, and God does in Jesus Christ. He wants to demonstrate that too. And so he's going to send out Hosea to go pay the price again and marry Gomer all over again in chapter 3. We'll look at that next time.